Not long after the new year began, another West African country announced yet a new attempted coup. The government of Burkina Faso said last week that it had averted a plot by armed forces to take over the country. I remember that last year there were military takeovers in Mali as well as in Guinea. The country of Chad, which is also in the restive Sahel zone, saw a non-democratic transition of power.
The omens had not been good in Burkina Faso. Back in November, before the attempted coup there, protesters took to the streets to vent their anger at the government and its inability to protect them from jihadist violence. At the time, the UN said it was concerned about volatility in the country and warned the military against trying to take over. Now it seems the government dodged a bullet, quite literally. On January 13th, ministers announced that they had uncovered a plot by a group of soldiers and civilians to destabilise institutions. They said they had neutralised the threat, for now at least.
As of today, 15 people have been detained. This includes, from the military, 2 officers, 7 non-commissioned officers and 1 soldier, as well as 5 civilians.
Fears of coups are currently high in West and Central Africa. In the last 18 months, there have been 4, including 2 in Mali alone. There, a military junta first seized power in 2020 to end what they said was corruption and weak leadership. Initially, military leaders promised to hold elections, but they've since sacked a transitional government and suggested they could run the country for the next 5 years. In neighbouring Guinea, the democratically elected president, Alpha Condé, was also deposed by the military last year. He too was accused of corruption. Chad also saw a coup of sorts. The son of President Idriss Déby seized power after his father was killed on the battlefield.
Joining me now is Jill Yabi, founder of WATI, a think tank in West Africa. Hello, sir. Thanks for your time. So, what is it about West Africa that's triggering these recent coups?
Well, I think it's always important to, to remind that the countries of the continent and even within a region like West Africa have their own political trajectory. And so when you comment on the coup, for example, in Mali, it is not the same thing as commenting the circumstances of a coup in Guinea. So I think we have to be cautious about taking these coups as something that can be generalized as a trend in West Africa. There is certainly a trend of democratic regression in the region, but I would not necessarily take the case of Mali, for example, as an example of that, because Mali is facing a security crisis, and the coup was not a surprise in a country like that.
Okay, but then still on that, what is giving rise to coups in the region then, you think?
I think the main issue is the way the countries are governed. I think that when we talk about democracy everywhere in the world, we have to recognize that it is something that is built, and that is something which is linked to the capacity of the political system to produce security, to produce economic and social benefit to the people. So when you do have a democratic system with regular election, but you who don't have a sense that the state is providing security, is providing jobs for the youth, is providing economic and social development for the people, basically you have a failure in the belief in the democratic systems. And I think that used to give a pretext for the military to enter in the political scene and to say that we can bring especially security back. We are best placed to bring what the people need. And I think that's a major issue.
So regional bodies like ECOWAS and the AU don't seem to be able to force coup leaders to return to democratic ways. Why is that?
AU and ECOWAS have developed a lot of protocols on democracy, on good governance, but they are more effective in condemning military coups than in enforcing better governance by the rulers, including civilian rulers that we have in many part of the continent, which have been there for decades, and the AU is not able to actually force those leaders also to provide a different kind of political practices in their own countries. So you cannot really expect those leaders, because at the end, at ECOWAS, and it's the same thing at the AU, at the end, it is the head of states who made the ultimate decisions. And what we are seeing is a lack of credibility of those organizations now. People don't believe in the capacity of ECOWAS in West Africa, for example, to consolidate democracy, because they can see that those who make the decision themselves are not good example of democratic governance in their own country.
You know, it is said prevention is better than cure. So how can regional bodies then help prevent such coups from happening in the first place?
I think we have to have a more, I would say, a more sophisticated view of what is prevention of military coups. I think we have to recognize that what the countries of the region need is not only election, it's not only actually democracy, it is also states that work for the interest of the peoples. And so you cannot only condemn the coup and try to prevent military to seize power if you are not working on changing the way the countries are governed politically, but also economically. If you don't consolidate the economy, if you don't give the sense that you are governing for the people, then we will have, I'm afraid, always pretext for military rulers to seize power. And I think the better prevention would be to work on the structural failures of the governance system in our countries.
Okay, due to time, we'll leave it here. Gilles Yabi, founder of the West African think tank WATI. Thanks for your insights.